Namaskar, I'm Professor Devdeep Purkayastha from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Welcome to this career development workshop. This is the second workshop in the series. This is Grow Your Team. The first workshop is about growing yourself, which is also made available at NPTEL Plus platform in some times. Before I get into the module itself, here is a thought from someone I really admire, late Mr. Nelson Mandela, Nobel Peace Prize winner, who was an activist and a freedom fighter against apartheid in South Africa. He was in jail for 25 years, then he came out and became the president of South Africa after apartheid was over. And this great man once said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." So it's very important to know where you are to get the job done, whatever be it, in business, in sports, getting freedom for your country, climb a mountain. It may seem impossible, but if you keep at it step by step, and you keep looking at where you are going, measuring, evaluating, tracking, you will get there. So it may seem impossible at times, but if you take a measured, determined approach, you will get the job done. And just to remind you, as a team leader, you can follow the 6T framework, which starts with target setting and alignment, which means having clear goals, which is agreed upwards with the management and your stakeholders, but is also brought in by every member of the team. So the team buys into it, every team member buys and commits into it. So clear goals, objective, which is aligned upwards and downwards. Then, as a team leader, we talked about how you need to get the right talent in the team. It's important that you have the right talent with the skills that the team needs. For example, you don't want to have a business team with only finance people. Maybe for a department, yes, but if you're doing a project, you may need a finance, marketing, an organizational capability builder, R&D person, and production person, if you are doing a multifunctional project. If you are doing only a finance or an HR project, it's good to have similar people. So it's important that the team members that you recruit and onboard and the talent that you have matches the skills requirement of the team. So you can't have a cricket team with 11 batsmen. Moving on, then we talked about systems and processes in the team. How to make sure that the team works like a well-oiled machine, and every part is in sync. And it's like a machine where every part is gelling with the other parts and moving together, versus, let's say, a car, where some parts are going very fast, some are not so fast. Some tires are good, some tires are bad. Brake is good, the clutch is not so good. And the car doesn't perform well. So in a team also you need to have good systems and processes. We talked about that in module 3. In the last module, we talked about the soft side of the team. How you, as a team leader, can create a culture which not only works in systems and processes, but also has a lot of trust and empowerment built into it. So systems and processes, trust and empowerment are flip side of a coin, like a coin. Two sides of the same coin. So it will be two sides of your same team. Today's module is all about how to track and evaluate. How do you know that if you are climbing Mount Everest, you are headed towards Mount Everest and do not detour away into some other mountain peak, Kanchenjunga or some other peak? If you are going from Bombay to Delhi or India to South Africa or India to Singapore, you need to make sure that in your journey, every step, every move, every day, you're moving closer and closer to your goal till the job is done, and that you're not going astray. So today we'll talk about that, how to track and evaluate and make sure that the whole team keeps moving towards the goal and keeps moving till the goal is reached. And then in the last module, we'll talk about after you have achieved success, how to reward and recognize so that the team is ready to climb the next peak, win the next championship, launch the next new product, do the next big startup, grow from 10 crores to 20 crores to 50 crores to 100 crores. So we'll talk about that in the next module. So this is module 5 of the workshop. This is about team tracking and evaluation. So why do you need tracking and evaluation? What are the benefits? Obviously, the first benefit is that everybody is moving towards the same goal. And part of the tracking mechanism is that everybody knows what the goal is moving towards the goal and not going and doing something else. For example, if you're a sales team and you want to maximize the sales of product A because it's the most profitable product, you want everybody to focus on product A. You cannot have half the team focusing on product A and half the team selling product B. That is dysfunctional. Same with if you're multifunctional and your strategy and your goal is to have high quality products being sold at a premium. If that's the objective and that's the strategy, you cannot have sales selling at a discount when your strategy is to sell at a premium. And you cannot have the production people produce subpar, sub-quality products when your strategy as a team leader is to sell premium products at a premium price. So that whole team moves together into defined goals. And tracking helps that. The same thing is about accountability. So business is complex. And if a team succeeds, everybody has to succeed in their parts of the work. So the cricket team, the batsmen have to score runs, bowlers have to take the wickets, all the fielders have to stop the runs, the wicket keeper has to keep the wicket. And things are not happening. You as a team leader or a cricket coach or a cricket team captain may want to evaluate where did you go wrong. Did the batsman not score enough runs? Did the bowler give away too many runs or not take enough wickets? Was there leakage in the fielding? Catches dropped? This establishes credibility and accountability in the team. It also means that the team is moving together and any gaps or any part of the team that is falling behind, any part of the project that is falling behind, okay, is quickly helped, supported to catch up. Because you cannot have, let's say in a business team or in your startup, your salesperson is selling more and more and more, but your production person is producing less and less. Or your salesperson is selling a lot, but the finance person or the salesperson are not being able to collect the money. The sales are going up, but there's not enough cash coming up. So it's very important to figure out in your business plan or your team plan, which parts are working, which parts are not working, and then fix the parts which are not working. And because you're tracking and evaluating, it also helps you make better decisions you individually as a team leader, and then collectively when the team meets. So this is a key skill for you as a team leader to maximize the performance of the team while optimizing the workload of the team members. Because you cannot have some parts of the team too busy and some parts of the team not too busy. You cannot have salespeople selling this much, but production people producing so much. Ideally, sales should match production, should match logistics, should match procurement of raw material, collection of money. They should all be in sync. What happens now if you as a team leader or the team totally are not tracking and evaluating? Obviously, what will happen is some members in the team, let's say if you're a trekking team, you're out on a trek, out from Bombay, or going out on a tour. And some people want to go from Bombay to Ahmedabad, some people want to go from Bombay to Bangalore, some people want to go from Bombay to Kolkata. Some want to go from India westwards, some people want to go from India eastwards. The team is pulling in different directions. And everybody thinks they are doing it the right way. But because the team is pulling in different direction, the team itself breaks up and the team doesn't deliver anything. Also, the other things, if you're not tracking and evaluating, is you may run out of resources. Especially in startups, you have limited amount of funding. And if you don't track your spend, monthly spend, daily spend, quarterly spend, you may go bankrupt very fast. And it can happen to big companies as well. Big companies have also gone bankrupt. Also, sometimes, if you need to go north, which means, let's say, launch a new product and get 20% revenues from that new product, you may be off track because your new product launch may be delayed. And when it is launched, it may only contribute to 5% of the business, not 20%. So then you're clearly off track and you're going and probably selling more of an obsolete product or product which will soon become obsolete versus launching a new product. And sooner or later, this will play out on the motivation of the team. Everybody wants to go in different directions. Everybody thinks they're very successful. Everybody thinks they're working very hard in their own direction, but the team is not moving. Someone is pulling this way, someone is pulling that way, someone is pulling that way, and the team itself doesn't move. So it's chaos. And sooner or later, the team members will lose interest, they'll get demotivated, they will leave, and we'll have high turnover. And if that happens, clearly the customers of the team, whether they be internal customers or the real external customers, they will not get what they want from the team or the company. And the team will lose its customer focus and customer credibility, customer satisfaction. And this is similar, like if you're a musician, if you're a conductor of a musical band, and as someone is playing at different rhythms, someone is playing in different genres, the customer, which in this case is the audience, will be very unhappy because it's bad quality music. All the musicians are out of sync. So that's the risk of not tracking and evaluating. Let's look at some examples of tracking and evaluating. Let's say you are a really senior executive and you're the CEO of the company. It may be a startup. You're the CEO of your startup or a small or middle-sized company. As a typical CEO, you will have business scorecards, report cards. This may be, some of it may be daily, some of it may be weekly, some of it may be monthly. If you're a listed company in the stock exchange, definitely you have to publish quarterly reports to the shareholders. And you have to look at different aspects of the business. But just looking at the reports is not enough. Because you then need to sit with your management teams, which means that if you are the founder or the CEO, You need to sit with your vice presidents or your co-founders or your first-line employees, direct reports, and review the results. Growth, profitability, customer satisfaction, strategic movement, whatever. We'll look at what are some of the areas you should look at. So regular reports, regular discussions with your team. Same with if you are a project manager of a new multifunctional team in a company and tasked to do a certain project. You will need a daily task report so that you know that all the members of the team are doing what they're supposed to do. For example, if you're launching, let's say, a new car, example, all the parts of the car need to come together in a coordinated manner. You cannot have that the body of the car is ready, but the paint shop is not up, so you cannot paint the body. You cannot have the tires are ready, but the suspension is not ready. Which means all the parts need to be developed and produced in sync. And then you have to look at it as a team leader with your team, with your direct reports regularly. You may spend half an hour a day looking at the status for the day. You may spend half a day a week. You may spend one day a quarter for quarterly reviews, but look at how the project is moving or how the company or the startup is moving. So what do you need to track and evaluate? If you are in a CEO position or a startup founder or a team leader, multifunctional team leader, or a senior business leader, you cannot just look at one part of the team, one part of the project, one part of the company. So you have to look at it in 360 degrees. For example, and here is a chart on the screen. First of all, you need to look at the financials in terms of revenues, profits, cash flows, spending, capital expenditure, operating expenditure, depreciation, etc., whatever are the financial metrics. But it's not enough to just look at the financials, because underlying the financials is also the customer who gives you the revenue, who buys your product. And therefore, you have to look at the customer part of it, because they give you the revenues from which you make the profits. So you have to look at customer acquisition, how many customers are you getting, how many customers are you losing, if any, how much are the customers spending with you, are the customers satisfied, dissatisfied. And in the financial, and you look at the customers, you've covered probably the revenue side, the growth side. But that's not enough, because you also need to look at the internal operations, your machinery, your factory, your production rates, your cost of production, your procurement, your logistics, your IT systems. You have to look at the internal, because if the internals are broken and not delivering, sooner or later the customers will not get what they want, the customers won't give you money, they will not buy your product because there's no product to buy, or the products are bad, and then the financials will go bad. But that's not enough either, because all of this are done by people. So your company employees or your team members or your startup employees have to deliver all of this. So you have to look at the learning and the growth of your employees as well, to feed that growth and support that objective. So you have to look at your business in totality, your team in totality. What happens if you're not running a business but just running a project? Again, it's not enough to look at just one or two parameters of the project. You must track and evaluate the 4 fundamental quadrants of a project, because the 4 have to be in sync. And this 4 is the scope of the project, the people and the resources that you're putting in the project, in your team, the time that you have to deliver the scope, and the cost that is needed to deliver the scope. If one of them changes, let's say you are in a stable phase and your team is doing well, the project is moving. But if one of them changes, you have to be very aware and you have to evaluate whether the other parts needs to change. For example, if the scope of the project goes from this and expands, you may plan for it, but in reality, you will not be able to deliver it. So if the scope increases, either you have to budget for more people to deliver the greater scope, you have to budget for more costs, or you have to budget for more time. You cannot just change the scope of a project and not change people, cost, or time. It will not happen. That's what you have to track. On the other side, scope is the same. If you increase people, chances are you can do it faster. So time will go down with the same scope. Or if you have the same time but you increase people, you can deliver more, so the scope goes up. Or if the scope is the same and you put in more people and you have the same time, maybe the cost will go down. So these four have to be in sync. If you want to be delivering faster, which means time reduces, one of the top two, if time reduces, scope has to reduce or people have to increase. And if time reduces, but the top two, scope and people remain the same, costs may go up. And these four, the interplay between these four is what you need to track as a team leader. And you need to have a deep understanding that if one of these four drivers of a project changes, what happens to the other drivers? If scope goes up 10%, people may have to go up 8%, 7%. Time may have to go up 2 or 3%. Cost may have to go up 1 or 2%, and so on. So that is project tracking and evaluation. So when to track and evaluate? We have talked so much about the need to evaluate, the problems if you do not track and evaluate, what to track and evaluate, but how often do you do it? How do you plan for time? And this is where tools like a Gantt chart comes in, where you're actually planning activities. So if you look on the right side, it's probably a week-wise, month-wise, quarter-wise, or year-wise timeline, and on the left you may have all the activities. And then you have to see whether those activities are happening on time. For example, you have to do the first things first. If you do the last thing first and you have not done the earlier steps, the results will not come. Example, in a car manufacturing, it's no point building the paint shop right in the beginning, because if there's no body, what do you paint? So you need to do the body shop before the paint shop. Similarly, if you're building a factory for beverage, it's no point building the entire factory and not have a water supply. So it's better to first secure the water supply, be it groundwater or piped in water or pond water, whatever water source of water is. Secure that and then make sure that you're building the factory. Similarly, when you're doing the building, you cannot build the fifth story before the first, second, third, fourth stories. So the Gantt chart kinds of help you plan a sequence of activities for your business or your project across time, across weeks, across days, across months. And based on those weekly, monthly, quarterly plans that you have put in that chart, in the planning document, you can review it on that week. So at the 10th week, activity should be reviewed 9th and 11th and 10th weeks. It's no point reviewing them in the first or second week. Similarly, the first or second week activities, if you review them after 7 or 8 weeks, it's meaningless. So there's a timeliness of tracking and evaluating. So we talked about what to track, when to track. Let's now look at how to track. What are the steps of tracking? Again, to help you remember, I have provided a 6-step tracking and evaluating process. I call it the 6E framework, just to help you remember easily. And you look at steps starting with E. So the first one is to establish goals, milestone, and times. So, to break down a big objective into steps. So, if you are climbing Mount Everest, you have to break it down into steps, gathering the team, gathering the equipment, going to the base camp, going to the first camp, second camp, and then over time to the peak. And how long does it take? Putting the team together, maybe 1 or 2 years, training the team to operate at high altitudes, low temperature, and rock climbing may take another 1 year or 2 years. Getting the equipment and the money may take 6 months, 1 year. Going to the base camp may take a few days, and then a few hours to go up the different camps. So to establish overall goal, the steps, the milestones, and the times. That's the first E, establish. The second E is about enable continuous tracking. So in this, you need to set up a process where each member of the team is tracking his or her own work, and the team together tracks the overall piece of work, and you as a team leader understand where the team is going. So if you have got selling, production, and finance, the sales team should be ready to sell by the time the production team has started producing, and the finance team should have had money before the production team has set up their factory. So that sequencing, the team member, and in a large company, the departmental tracking, the tracking at different levels, the self-tracking, tracking as a team, and then you as a CEO or a founder or a team leader, tracking together with the team is very important. And that's the third E, engage in regular reviews. So what's regular? It could be a short 30-minute stand-up meeting every day, or a 1-hour scrum meeting where everybody comes together, the whole team comes together, quickly looks at and says, we are on track, not on track, here's the issue, here's the problem. If I have a problem, this is how it impacts the overall piece, here's what I'm doing to fix it, and here's what help I need. So it may be at half an hour a day, it could be 1 hour a week, it could be 1 day, a quarter, but it has regular reviews. And the fourth part of it is empowerment with data and insights. Because when you're doing reviews or tracking, everything is based on data and scorecards. It cannot be just opinions. It has to be broken down into fair amount of detail of the task and the timelines and the milestones and the quality measures. So it's data and it's insights. Insights about if it's doing well, why is it doing well? If it's not doing well, what's broken? So there can be a meaningful engagement and steps to fix it. And then when things are done, when milestones are achieved, you may want to recognize performance, because it's no point waiting till you reach Mount Everest or till you win the championships. If you watch a football team or a cricket team, it's not that they don't celebrate during the series or the championship. They're celebrating every step. Every time someone scores runs or centuries, takes a wicket, takes a catch, they're celebrating. When they win a match, they celebrate. So they don't hold back the celebration till they win the championship. So you don't have to hold back the recognition and the celebration till you reach Mount Everest. You can celebrate, recognize along the way. And the final E is about evolving and adopting your goals and plans, because things will go wrong. Something or the other will change. Something externally will change. Something internally will change. Team members may leave. Money may run out. Or everything may be on track, and you may have underestimated the power of the team. And therefore you evolve and you raise the bar and you go for higher and higher versus the original plan. Or sometimes your original goal may be too far, too difficult, too much money, and then you adopt it into a different goal or lower the bar a bit or take on new members, budget for more cost. So continuously evolve and make this into a dynamic process. Now we have talked about what to evaluate, when to evaluate, how to evaluate. And now, like in the other modules of this workshop, for you to master this art of team leadership, leading big teams, big winning teams, high performance teams, including how to track and evaluate, I have included behavior patterns for each of those pillars, the 6 E's. So if you look at what's on the screen, you will see that certain behavior patterns, if you demonstrate them, if you practice them, if they become your natural style, will become your strength. If you don't, they may be needing improvement because they'll be impacting the team negatively. And you can be neutral. So these are your daily behavior pattern which you may want to build into your natural style. When you start the assessment, many of you may find that your daily behavior is not necessarily the way it's under strengths. It may be under needs improvement, but that's okay. You may identify top 2 or 3 behaviors from this module, maybe 1 or 2 from other modules, and then 4 or 5 areas across the entire workshop for team management. As you practice them slowly over 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you will become stronger in those areas. Then you take on few more improvement areas and then you work on them till in every aspect of team management, as per the 6T framework, the 6 modules of this workshop, you will have very strong daily behavior. And if you demonstrate this behavior, chances are your whole team will up their game. They'll perform better and better till you become a winning team leader of a winning team, delivering outstanding results. So look it up yourself. On the left side are the 6 pillars in this screen. There are 3 pillars, the 3 E's, the behavior patterns. And in this slide, there are the other 3 E's of tracking and evaluation. They're the behavior patterns. Look at them in this screen. You can replay the video over and over again. But once you've played it over, my request would be that you take a little bit of time off, maybe 30 minutes immediately after you have done this module. Once you have taken the time off, 30 minutes, Saturday, Sunday, holiday, whenever you're free, reflect on your behavior. Take feedback if you want from your team members. And assess your daily behavior against the rubric, the scorecard that I showed you before. And jot down 1 or 2 areas that you want to improve. And try to practice them. And after 1 or 2 months, once you have started practicing and they've gone from your improvement area to your strength area, take the next 2 or 3. And you can combine your action plan across all the modules of the workshop. And then develop your personal action plan, but keep it live because you'll always be leading teams, whichever team it is. And as you go more and more mature in your career, you grow and grow more and more in your career, you'll have bigger and bigger teams. You'll have multi-layered teams. You'll have teams reporting to you, but teams which reported to the team members who report to you, and so on. So with that, we come to the end of this module. Thank you. Namaskar. Good luck.